Welcome back, everybody, to Direct Team Game presents the G4 Experience, and thank you for staying with us. Hope you're enjoying your night, and for those of you joining us for our first stream, I hope you're enjoying the stream. We're going to continue this talk about movies and stuff that we've kind of established and been on. We just got done talking about the best movies that Nite Shyamalan has put to film, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go into my next article that I wanted to talk to these guys about. If I can find it. It's here. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and talk about this next article that I went ahead and wanted to talk to them about to see what their thoughts were on it. Oh, that's not supposed to be over there.
That's an Inception.
That movie's actually pretty good.
Let's go back up to the top. Why is it doing this? Anyway, so the article that I have here from GameSpot is 9 attempts to set up cinematic universes and franchises that failed miserably. Obviously, as we can see here, Spider-Man being the biggest culprit of that, trying to get a franchise off the ground that just didn't take. And he's the biggest culprit. I think the joke that I made in a couple podcasts ago is how many times can you kill Uncle Ben? And Sony, that's not an invitation to find out. And please don't.
Depends on how many times you try and cook Uncle Ben's rice. I apologize for nothing.
Shit, which one was it? I can't hear it.
Nope. Nope.
No, I'll
take that one.
Yeah.
You guys are incorrigible. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get into this. The 9 attempts to set up a cinematic universe and a franchise. Says, while movie sequels and cinematic franchises have existed for decades, the concept of interconnected cinematic universes in which separate films exist within the same world or share various characters was one that remained relatively untapped until recent years. Back in the 1930s, Universal monster movies formed their own shared universe, with iconic monsters and associated characters appearing across multiple movies. And in Japan, Toho's Godzilla movies existed in their own universe. But it wasn't until the Marvel Cinematic Universe that the true potential of successful shared universes was realized. Of course, what the MCU did on screen is what superhero comics have been doing for decades, and this made perfect sense for Marvel to utilize its live-action characters in a similar way. But what works for Marvel simply doesn't translate to every popular property and franchise, as studios, producers, and directors have since discovered. After the huge success of the Avengers in 2012, other studios started looking at what properties might be suitable for their own cinematic universes. Something that could generate a film or a year or more instead of one direct sequel every few years. Sometimes this meant rebooting franchises. Sometimes it was taking ongoing popular series and attempting to spin off more films. New movies were announced as the first part of the planned multi-film series, with teasers for other characters and other future movies were thrown into narratives where they didn't necessarily fit. But of course, very few worked, and most of these universes fizzled out before they got started. The rush to create cinematic universes has died down for now, and while Hollywood will always look for a way to maximize profits, announcing a 6-movie series before you've released one film was clearly not the way to do it. Sorry, the type is really small. But it's a fun way to look back on those film franchises that might have existed had things worked out differently. So here's our guide to those failed cinematic universes. And again, this is from GameSpot.
Maybe zoom in a little.
Yeah, I mean, you could zoom in.
I don't want to. I want to be difficult.
I think that's good.
Okay, now you're going to find the mouse marker. Alrighty. So the first one on the list here they have is the Freddy vs. Jason horror universe. Now, I remember the time when this kind of movie came out because it wasn't necessarily Freddy vs. Jason. It was Alien vs. Predator. It was Werewolf vs. Vampire. It was, all these movies that kept coming out that were
red versus blue.
No, but
Are you talking about Van Helsing versus Dracula?
No. It was specific movies that were this versus that.
Yeah, but that one was more like that's just Van Helsing.
Yeah, that's why I was like, that one's just Van Helsing. The Aliens vs. Predators, they're actually in the same cinematic universe.
No, that I'm aware of.
Okay,
What I was
gonna
saying
say,
is this was
I've discussed this before.
what the time period
Don't
for
cross
these
me.
movies were you were taking one very prominent thing and making it fight another very prominent thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not winning with you.
Like Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, but Aliens vs Predators.
I understand it exists in the same freaking universe. It's not the point I was trying to illustrate.
Do you also know that Terminator's included in that universe?
I heard something of it, yes.
Okay, because I did mention that in one of our previous podcasts. If you would like to go listen to that, you can listen to that on Spotify. Links are in the description.
This one failed. This was one failed universe that predated the MCU. 2003's Freddy vs. Jason gave horror fans the showdown that they've been hoping to see for years. Nightmare on Elm Street's razor-fingered Freddy Krueger taking on Friday the 13th's hockey mask-wearing killer Jason Voorhees. The movie was a box office success, and there were plans by distributors New Line to extend the horror universe by introducing the Evil Dead's reluctant hero Ash into the mix. Producer Jeff Katz developed a treatment for the next movie, which would have seen Bruce Campbell reprise his role as Ash. Ultimately, Campbell rejected the idea, stating that it was, quote, creatively bankrupt, and expressing reluctance to get involved financially with producers who own the other characters. Quote, you're splitting the proceeds 3 ways with partners you might not want, he said. Luckily, the concept lived on in comic books. Kat's story was adapted in a 6-issue Dark Horse series, Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash in 2007, with a follow-up, Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, The Nightmare Warriors, following in 2009.
Ooh, I'm going to have to find those comic books. What was that again?
That was going to be
By Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
Can you send me this link? Because I'm going to forget that.
It's the people that put out the Critical Role.
I know who Dark Horse is. I'm just saying I'm going to forget the names.
Oh.
I have a selective memory.
Well, then
movies
select
and
to
stuff
remember.
I'll remember, but certain titles like
Did
this,
you just
I'll
say
forget.
a walk to remember?
No, I said then select to remember.
It doesn't work like that.
I know.
I
He
remember.
doesn't get to select.
Yeah, I don't get to select.
I know. But I was just being a smartass like I am.
Can you tell me the quadratic formula in math?
What's math?
Okay. then.
Well, why do you think I failed math?
What?
Right.
No.
It's x equals y.
E equals MC squared.
Well,
A squared, B squared, C squared.
A plus
Anyway, does
Also
anybody have
minus B.
does anybody have a comment about this particular cinematic universe?
I would love to see this continue.
Me too. I would have really I didn't know that they had those plans. Literally, I watched it when it came out, and this is me learning right now that there could have been more. And I really would have liked seeing that.
I can see why he didn't need money at the time. Because if you look at a lot of his movies, it's like he's even said like, "Oh, I needed money for my kids' braces. I did this movie." You know. Honestly, man, I would have loved to see him in here. I can see what he's talking about. It would be splitting just because, like, Ash is kind of... The Army of the Dead one was kind of like a horror comedy. Not the first one. It still had a little bit of comedy, but it was like horror. And then I'm trying to remember. It was it wasn't Living Dead. I'm trying to remember what the character originated from. But anyways, like that franchise, I would have loved to see that, like the character from the original from his original 2 movies, not Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
Reprise his role. Because that would have been like him fighting them too. Oh man. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna have to look those comics up because I really want to read those.
Let me know when you find them.
Oh, I will. I'll put it in our chat.
Nice.
All right.
Next one on the list.
That's my boob.
The DC Extended Universe. Let me get the sidebar here. The DC's movies universe ran for longer and made more money than any other universe on this list. And technically, it still exists. But there's no denying it didn't pan out as the studio hoped. With Marvel already pioneering the blockbuster superhero movie, in 2013, DC launched its very own version of the MCU, commonly termed the DC Extended Universe, a title that started life as a joke in a 2015 Entertainment Weekly article, but was quickly adopted by fans. But instead of Marvel's slow and careful build, DC leapt headfirst with a handful of totally inconsistent movies that range from the excellent Wonder Woman to the terrible Suicide Squad, culminating in the woeful debacle of 2017's Justice League. Since then, DC has abandoned the idea of a singular shared MCU-style universe, keeping well-liked DCEU characters such as Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and making movies like Joker, Shazam, Birds of Prey, The Suicide Squad, and the upcoming The Batman, which stands on their own outside any wider universe. So yeah, just off tilt. Like this was DC's attempt to respond and answer back at the MCU, and where they fell flat was here's their Avenger movie, and oh shoot, you know what? We didn't introduce these characters. Here's their movies, and it seemed backwards, and it didn't seem like it just seemed backwards. And not only that, you're trying to bounce off of the fame and the whatever of the MCU. And what people seem to, I don't know what, hardcore DC fans, they love the hardcore stuff, like you mentioned. But like for a lot of people who are so used to the colorful, whimsical, lightheartedness of the MCU,
yes,
this was
like you.
This was such a foreign concept to people.
Yeah, it was really disappointing because like I had a lot of hope for the DC universe, especially because of that. Like I like how they're darker and.
Sorry for interrupting. You have to see the Snyder cut.
Oh yeah, I did. I saw the Snyder version.
You saw the Snyder version. Honestly, this is my one problem with all these movies is that you have so many directors, you have so many ideals trying
Hands
to push
in the cookie pot.
Between producers, between all this, and that was like when one of the designers from Marvel actually left, because so the whole story between Marvel was the initial content, as you can tell, like with the very beginning of all these movies, with Iron Man, with Captain America, with some of the other ones, they actually talked with the comic book creators, and they fed ideas, and they gave them back ideas and all that stuff. So you actually had these people that know these stories and write these stories with their input on this franchise. And so that's what was so nice about it, because you were not only getting to the people that are, fan favorites of this comic book series, but you're actually now introducing to a new crowd. And that's what I liked about it. But then once it started to get too big, before, Disney really stepped in, it was, all right, now let's get one person's input and let's have him do all that stuff. But let's also not put the best person in that perspective. He was Fergie, or what's his name?
Kevin Feige?
Yeah, Kevin Feige. He is honestly not one of the best people. A lot of people in the comic book industry did not like him because of his direction with a lot of the comic books. And you can kind of see it, because everything now just looks like, oh yeah, we have this plan, but everything just seems cookie cut now.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the DCU. And what I was mentioning before, of one of the head directors of the comic book series actually left Marvel and actually went to DC and was supposed to be one of the lead designers and help shaping a lot of their cinematic universe. And I think because of some of the flops, that kind of went away. And and it sucks, because some of these movies, they really flopped. One, the Joker and Lex Luthor are not the same it's not the same character. No. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Inspired by needs to be put next to those.
Yeah. And you can see that it was just like, oh, we have this idea. Okay, well, let's make it like this. But, that was the thing like I liked about the Zack Snyder cut, was that it was just like, you can tell like he tried to pay homage to the comic book characters. He tried to pay, but still make it his own, but still made it what these were like that realism, that, hey, this could have happened. And, you know, because how many rich billionaires do we know? You know, there's a few in this world.
Quite a few.
You
Couple
know,
of them just went to space.
Yeah. And the dick
Dr. Evil.
yeah, right. But that was the thing. Just like this one, the one scene that makes me so irritated in this damn movie right here was, why'd you say that name? Why'd you say Martha? You know, it's just like, that was my mom.
So I do have 2 questions as far as the DCEU is concerned, and anybody can answer them, but they're kind of directed at Doc. Number 1, would you agree that no matter what universe it is, DCEU or Marvel, that they get a majority of the casting for the characters spot on or accurate? With the exception of Lex Luthor and Joker.
Well, like I said, in this one, the Lex Luthor that what's his name played, I heard he's an okay actor to work with. I've seen him in I liked him in Now You See Me.
Right, no. So
would you say that other than Lex Luthor and Joker, that the rest of the DCEU was cast pretty well?
Okay. Honestly, a lot of people don't like Ben Affleck, and they didn't like Ben Affleck as Batman. Honestly, it's like the same thing as Robert Downey Jr. I was like, actually, that makes sense, because who is Batman? Batman's Robert Downey Jr. Or, you know, he's Iron Man's counterpart. You know, he's a billionaire. He's a playboy. You know, during the day when he does, you know, come out. And who is that? That's Ben Affleck. That's the only other character I could see was Ben Affleck. Like George Clooney and stuff like that. I never really saw him as Batman. Val Kilmer, like, he's a cool actor and stuff, but I just cannot see him as a blonde Batman.
So let's just keep going down the list. Henry Cavill as Superman, yes or no?
Honestly, I really do like him as Superman. I think he played really well.
Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
I don't even fucking get me started on that, dude. She is, as my little one would say, yes.
Yes, Dad.
Yes.
Jason, my name's Jason, and this is Momoa as Aquaman.
Pretty good. I
Yeah.
like it, yeah, a lot.
I liked how they did, because original Aquaman is pure white. And so I liked how they actually did the culture change with him.
Yeah, this one made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
On a lot of levels.
Yeah, and just integrating the tattoos and everything, it kind of gave that feel of still within the ocean and that whole old tribal aspect of it.
Right.
It really touched base. The only problem I had was his suit at the end of Aquaman. It just seems so freaking cheesy because they were trying to do the original. Mm-hmm. That was my only problem with that movie.
Yeah, for me, like, the concept of having a white Aquaman really only made sense from the perspective that deep down enough, there is no sun. So, like, naturally, you're not going to have pigmentation.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that could technically work that direction.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being down there and then coming up to the surface, how badly you'd get burnt?
Oh, I do, because
I know you're pasty, but I mean, you'd be like,
I've had
paperweight.
second-degree burns from sunburn before. I have pictures of how terrible it is. So I understand the concept. You wouldn't last more than an hour.
The emo kid from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Him as Flash.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was the bad guy. Or not really the bad guy. He was the misunderstood guy.
Yeah.
Like most emo kids.
He's awkward, and that plays very well to his character.
Don't attack me.
I think that him.
I didn't say lengthy.
I think him as the Flash. I actually thought he did pretty well for it.
Yeah.
Yet again, bringing a different culture to that character versus a white person to that, you know. And I know it doesn't help me because I'm the only colored person here in a room, you know, or in a podcast with white people.
Cyborg.
Oh gosh, Cyborg, I think he was done pretty well. The whole mother box aspects, I really do like the character. I like the integration that they had with him. Cyborg's always kind of been that character of where it's really hard to do something with him. And I mean, even in the comic books, 1 minute he's a teenager, 1 minute he's a kid, an adult. So it's always kind of been that, where do we put him at? So
General Zod.
Which one was General Zod again?
He was the guy that had his neck broke during the original Superman.
I like him as an actor. His voice just gets to me all the time. That is the one thing that, because his voice is a little bit more high pitched, and it could be that similarity. Because I know at times my voice gets high pitched, and so it's just like I don't. I like him. I think they probably could have got somebody else. I'm also kind of going off of some of the other adaptations of him throughout movies and TV shows. So
overall, the casting was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
You missed someone.
Who?
Robin/Joker.
The only time I ever saw Robin portrayed was other than Batman and Robin, and then The Dark Knight when they hinted at it at the end.
So there's a scene in Batman vs. Superman.
Mm-hmm.
You see where the Robin suit gets actually shot through. There's a hole in his suit.
Mm.
And in Suicide Squad, you see the Joker have the same hole in his arm. A lot of people don't reference that Joker that we're actually dealing with is actually Robin.
That's crazy.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't either.
Huh.
All right, moving on. Robin Hood, the Robin Hood universe. There's some universes so ill-conceived that they never make it to even a single movie. In 2014, The Hollywood Reporter revealed that Sony was in talks to spend a whopping $1 million to buy the rights to a pitch made by writers Corey Goodman and Jeremy Lott for a movie titled Hood that would lead an extended Robin Hood universe. As THR stated, quote, "The plan is to make a series of movies focusing on the outlaw Archer and his band of merry men, Little John, Friar Tuck, and Will Scarlet. One could say that they were a superhero team of England's Middle Ages. It never happened. It was a huge flop, and 2018's Robin Hood movie suggests that it was the right decision."
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
That Robin Hood they're talking about was the one starring Jamie Foxx and that guy from Kingsman.
His character's name.
No, his last name was like Egerton. Something Egerton.
He actually played, I can't remember his name. It's but he actually played he also played
Elton John.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, it's a spectacular movie.
Dude, that movie is, I've seen that, and I've seen Bohemian Rhapsody. Like both those movies have, like, you can tell they touch base with it. Like they would do really good.
Mm-hmm. His name, I'm probably mispronouncing it, is Taron Egerton.
See, I was right.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this?
I mean, I liked Men in Tights. Don't get me wrong.
That's what I was just thinking. I'm like, if it's a Robin Hood Men in Tights universe, that would be awesome. But I think that movie's probably old enough. Not a lot of people know what it is.
Yeah.
Well, also with that is that. Sorry about that. I was trying to fix my mic. Also with that though is that, wasn't that a Mel Brooks movie though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we couldn't get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff wouldn't fly
Thinking
anymore.
about that.
Robin Hood, that's actually British.
The Robin Hood that had Professor Snape in it was pretty good too. I enjoyed it.
I've probably seen, I haven't seen this one, but I've probably seen almost all of the recent Robin Hoods from the one that you were talking about.
Yeah.
With oh gosh, what's his name? The one who did Waterworld and
I can't
Russell
remember
Crowe.
his name.
No.
That's
I don't know. I'm thinking
Commanding Commanders or something.
I don't know.
But
I don't know. I'm only here for looks.
They're not the good looks.
Yeah, I've seen that one because that one came out in the 90s, and that was like a little darker and stuff. And then there was the one with Russell Crowe that came out, and that was kind of like a semi-pre one. And then I think there was another one in between that, I can't remember. And then there was this latest one, which I actually
Kevin
thought
Costner is the one you were thinking.
Kevin Costner, yeah. And then there was this latest one, which I thought was pretty good, but for a universe, yeah, I can see. You can tell that they were hinting at it, but I think for what it was, it just ended.
Like, how much can you do with Robin Hood? Like, okay, you got the sheriff. Okay, you got him. What now?
Yeah.
Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite Robin Hood was the Disney version.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one too.
Yeah, everyone almost forgot about that one.
With the fox and stuff.
I was trying not to bring it up.
Yeah. Did you see her buns?
That's what made me
I'll
afraid
drink
today.
to that.
Right.
All right, the next one on the list here is going to be the Power Rangers universe. The Power Rangers was already a long-running, hugely popular multimedia franchise before the 2017 reboot film. So why wouldn't producers Lionsgate want to create a movie universe based around the new group of young Rangers? 2016 Lionsgate boss John Feltheimer said he hoped to make, quote, 5 or 6 or 7 movies, while Haim Saban, I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong, whose company owns the rights to Power Rangers, subsequently confirmed that a, quote, 6th film story arc, quote, had already been mapped out, but the film's tepid box office results ensured that those story ideas would stay in the drawer. Of course, yet another attempt to reboot the franchise is now underway, and maybe this will help be the one that create the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers sequence cinematic universe. So I saw this movie, and I actually enjoyed it. You know, because you're taking the problem that I think the only problem I had with the old Power Rangers was they were adults trying to be kids.
No, they were teenagers with attitudes.
They were adults trying to be kids, and in this,
Radical.
it's like they're literally kids, and each one has their own story and you know what they bring, their own little angst to it.
Actually, I think the original film, they were all under 18. The only one who was older was Tommy. He was 19 when he got hired on, and he was actually supposed to be hired on as the main character for VR Troopers, and him were actually supposed to be Swift swapped because he actually went in and interviewed for VR Troopers, and the character the main character for VR Troopers came in and interviewed for Tommy.
Tommy's Jason David Frank.
Yeah, I know who.
And they actually
Don't
swapped.
question me on Power Rangers.
Yeah, seriously, don't. Boy, I was don't even get me started on Kimberly.
I've seen the tights.
I've actually watched the original. I've watched every single original one from when it first started on TV.
Wow.
Yeah.
I may have skipped a couple.
Hey Siri, when was Jason David Frank born?
Click on his name.
No.
Where
I
is
can't.
it, Cyrus?
So he was born in 1973. So if we take 1995 minus 1973,
22.
so they were adults trying to be kids.
He was an adult.
That was one person.
Hey Siri,
Why are you serious? Like,
how
we're
old
live
is
here.
Amy Jo Jonas? Fuck.
Are your fingers
That's Amy
broken?
Jo Johnson.
You can look it up yourself.
Click on her name,
Yeah.
dude.
I can't click on the name, jackass. Oh, wait. So she was born in 1970. So
And what year were we going to?
1995.
That's when it was released.
No, that was the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
We're
I'm
talking the TV show.
Okay. I've been wrong before.
It's not really fair to they grew because they couldn't just not age.
Yeah, it was. I know the movie. They were all adults.
There's a 2-year difference. It doesn't help anything. 1993.
Yeah, so he was
90
22. So he was 19. I was right.
Yeah, he would have been 19 and even younger when
And
they
there's
started filming.
there is a little bit of wiggle room because we don't know months.
For the love of God, let's just go back to the freaking list. Anyways, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you wish it would have come to fruition? Yada, yada, blah, blah, blah.
Like my wife says, our 4-year loves this movie. This is one of the ones that I have to not let him watch because He does act it out a lot.
I used to do the same thing when I was his age.
And he beats up his brother and stuff like that. And, no, I honestly, I actually, for the most part, I like the movie. It could have been a little bit better. I like the whole thing how they did with Trini. Because it did bring premise to where, oh, I'm just not a female that like men. I can be my own person. And then it brought a little bit more background of Zach. They were mixturing Zach with the replacement in the TV show of where, it wasn't I don't know how to correctly put that term, but
Wasn't very nice, I believe.
no, color.
Oh.
So, and then I like how they changed up Billy. They just mixed up the roles and everything. That's what I liked about it was, coming from where nowadays where we actually are starting to do that, we're starting to mix up roles, color, even sex. Because now look at us, we have Thor that's going to be a girl, and especially in the comic books, there was big controversy with that because especially with Mjolnir's inscription on it. And so, a lot of people have finally come around to that to where it's like, it's okay to be a different sex, a different gender, or, different sexual
Orientation.
Yeah. So big words.
So what did you guys think about the Zords or anything that was in the film?
I thought they were just a little overdone.
Yeah.
I
don't remember them.
Like the Mastodon had 6 legs. They just look a little bit more a little bit too like battle bots. Yeah. But for the most part, I liked them. And then, like the whole thing of before of, the whole thing, the story about Zordon and stuff like that. I actually did like that story, because even in the TV show, who the hell is Zordon?
Right.
Seriously, who is he? We just get bits and pieces and come to find out like he's like everybody looks to him and like what is his background, So I kind of, there was just a little bit of things I kind of didn't care for with the suits. They just look too CG'd, and that's kind of where they fell flat with me was the outfits.
Look at them.
I don't want to say something because my wife's watching, but
Next on the list, the Men in Black / 21 Jump Street. I bet you guys are kind of wondering how this one was going to work out.
Yeah.
I
But one
knew about this one.
one of the weirdest attempts to create a cinematic universe was the idea of combining two of Sony's successful existing action comedy properties, The Men in Black and Jump Street. The concept started with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who had directed both Jump Street movies and wanted to combine the self-parodying cop comedy of those films of the FX-driven sci-fi laughs of Men in Black. Amazingly, Sony signed a deal for Lord and Miller to develop a screenplay and screenwriter Rodney Rothman. But the project never went any further than the script stage, with Men in Black co-producer Walter Parks later explaining that ultimately the two franchises were, quote, not very compatible. No kidding. Rothman, Lord, and Miller subsequently moved onto the Oscar-winning animated hit Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so it was probably for the best.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense that they didn't go through with that. Because, like, the energy in both of them are just so completely different. Yeah. Like, I'm obviously imagining it that instead of them going to 23rd, 24th Jump Street, you're coming into the Men in Black. And, I don't know, their energy just doesn't match with what all 3 Men in Black have already established.
Yeah, I don't see how they could tie them together unless they made one of them like an alien or something. But that at that point they'd be jumping the shark, and that'd be just kind of just.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry, babe. There is a delay between us and chat, so we see your topics, and I try to get them when I can, but we might be moving on when you actually hear this. But with 21 Jump Street, honestly, the first two movies, I think that's where they should have ended it. Actually, they should have just ended it with the first one.
Yeah.
Because you kill, oh gosh, what's his name? Johnny Depp. And one of the other main characters from 21 Jump Street in the TV show. You know, you actually killed the two characters that they're playing in that show. And like we all got our nostalgia, like the people who did watch the TV show and stuff, they all got their nostalgia from it, but it was just like a movie that should not have made a second one. And then for Men in Black, they just need to freaking fix their universe in the first place because that damn thing's all over the damn place.
There's a lot to it, yeah.
I mean,
loose ends.
Yeah, one movie just doesn't connect to the next movie, and then the third movie you leave us with even a bigger cliffhanger. And so it was just like...
Yeah, I didn't understand that third one. Like, you're telling me that you've met the character... Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one, Men in Black International, was just like we all kind of suspected, especially from comic book series and from the cartoon. We knew that there were other branches of Men in Black around the world, but then it was just like, so you're telling me the big bad guy has been running the show for the last however long, you know? It just...
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, and I just need to rewatch the series.
Spoiler.
I think.
Sorry.
I mean, the movie's been out for years, so yeah.
Yeah, statute limitation.
Here we are.
You should move past this one.
The Amazing Spider-Man universe. Having produced 3 hugely successful Spider-Man movies throughout the 2000s, the 2012 Sony reboot Spidey with Andrew Garfield in the lead role and plans to create a wider universe using all of the heroes and villains that they had the movie rights to. And it started well. The Amazing Spider-Man received and made $758 million worldwide. Although the 2014 sequel made $709 million, this was the lowest gross of any Spidey film, and the reviews were not good. Sony had already announced release dates for The Amazing Spider-Man 3 and 4, as well as teasing a spin-off Sinister Six film and a second film putting a Black Cat movie onto development. But all this ended when the studio instead signed a deal with Disney for Spidey to appear in the MCU, with Tom Holland taking over as Peter Parker. Honestly, I mean...
All right, I want to hear Zach's first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on the record for not liking The Amazing Spider-Man, just in general. I was a fan of the original Spider-Man, specifically 1 and 2. I liked 3, but I mean,
I like that they introduced Venom.
Yeah,
but
I liked how they were bringing in multiple villains, but the execution could have been better.
Yeah,
to say the least, to save on time.
All right.
But no, this is a universe that I'm more than okay with that it failed. There was just so much wrong with it. I'm not even going to start. Like, watch the I forgot what the name of the episode was. Go watch that one or listen to it on Spotify.
That was The Good, the Bad, the Superheroes.
Bam.
I'm trying to remember if I've even seen this one.
So anyway,
this actually came, I mean, as you can tell, 2012 and
it's so tough because I'm like jaded because I like superhero movies. So when one comes out, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I can get where a lot of people's issues came from when it came to the Amazing series, and I feel like they really missed the mark with, I think, was it Amazing Spider-Man 2, the one with Electro?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think they missed their mark with that one because they were trying to make Harry the bad guy, and then
that's where they messed up.
They tried making Harry the bad guy, and then of course, making Electro step. I can see where they messed up.
So these ones I actually prefer over the original
Sam Raimi.
Not the first one. I like the first one.
Okay.
The second two.
Problems.
We've already talked about this.
Just making sure.
Yeah, the first one I like the first one. The second two I just did with Doc Ock and Sandman. Actually, I did really like the way they did Sandman. But Venom, the person who replaced Venom, that is not Eddie Brock. I'm sorry. Eddie Brock's, I think, a former athlete and everything. And so I was like, that's not Eddie Brock.
You don't like Topher Grace?
Shut up. But knowing the Amazing Spider-Man comic books of where, and I'm not an expert on these, but, you know, understanding where they're coming from and following Spider-Man's roots was like Spider-Man's first true love was Gwen Stacy. Mm-hmm. And the story behind all this was like he actually does lose her. And he loses her to, I want to say it's Black Hole, I think that's his name. And he, you know, it kind of does devastate him because it is that, you know, I find somebody who I can cherish and everything, and then it's, it ends up leading to why in the comic books it takes him a while to actually fall in love with Red.
Mary Jane.
Well, that's what he calls her, Red. I'm just going off of what Peter says. And so, you know, just knowing the whole background and everything, it's like just jumping straight into being with Red. It was just like you're not building this character up. And that was the one thing was like, I think because as David said, there was just too much loss in it, and it was a little too much realism of like, I think that was also like during the same time. When did Iron Man 3 come out? Because I think it was around the same time, right?
I think within a year, yeah.
2013.
Yeah, so I think they were kind of playing off of that same thing of where, you know, this character's you're actually seeing these characters, you know, go through these mental issues of where normal people go through. And I think, because Iron Man 3 didn't do so well too. And I think it was because of that whole realism that people didn't want in their movies. And that's the reason why a lot of these movies aren't doing good.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite aspects of, these flops, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because that was like with, I love the Rhino in the Rhino suit, man. I was like, oh, good. He's not in this freaking, you know, whatever story they're telling now of like he gets this exoskeleton skin, whatever it is, and looks like a rhino. I was like, oh, this is a mech. I was like, yeah, baby. I was like, let's go. I even said, like, I was telling my wife at the end of that, I was so excited during that. And then it was just like the whole scene with that, it was like him coming to realization, you know, even though I've lost somebody again, you know, it's still moving forward with being a, you know, with
power.
Great power comes great responsibility. And then it was just like telling that kid, you know, I got this. And it was just that realization of just like, yeah, you know, I was hoping they were going to continue with the series. But yeah, Green Goblin, I hated. That was my one pet peeve was the Green Goblin. So.
It hates you too.
Next on the list is called the King Arthur universe. The legends of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table are ripe with opportunities for expanded cinematic storytelling. Guy Ritchie's 2017 fantasy action movie King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, was intended to kickstart an entire franchise, with Warner hoping that to make no fewer than 6 movies. The film's ending sets up the sequels. The Round Table is constructed, ready for for Arthur's Knights to convene around it for further adventures. Unfortunately, it was the year's biggest box office flop, losing the studio a colossal $153 million and killing any sequel hopes.
That's rough.
What's your guys' take on this movie? Have you seen it?
Mm-mm. I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Dude, the soundtrack on this, just like, I can see where a lot of this stuff was rushed, and it sucks because I think if they had, maybe if it wasn't this one, like if they actually probably did a 2-parter, it might have did a little bit better just because you see a scene in there to where it's really rushed.
Isn't that crazy though? Like they want to build a universe, but they're not willing to take the time to build a nice foundation. You could talk to any like structural engineer, and they'll tell you that the foundation is the most important part.
Yeah,
and they're not even willing to spend the time to actually do it right and wonder, oh, why did we lose 150 million plus? Like,
babe, stop making fun of me. Yeah, no, me and my wife, we both love this movie. Because it is kind of that story of, what if King Arthur grew up, like, on the streets, rough and tumble, and, making him, like, he even says, I don't want to be king. I don't want to be here. And it's like, you guys were making me do this. And then it was just like him coming to a realization and going through all this heartache and turmoil to realize, like, if no one else is going to do it, properly, then, it looks like I'm going to have to.
Yeah. It's a shame that the execution doesn't seem to have been really there for a story that had so much potential.
Yeah. Oh, but the soundtrack on this thing, man, I listened to that. Just the whole, like, old time, oh gosh, was it Celtic? It kind of sounds Celtic. It kind of sounds Celtic. I can't remember.
I think it was kind of like not like Flogging Molly or Dropkick Murphy or anything like that, but it kind of had
I would say off stream, we'll pull it up just so you guys can listen to one of the soundtracks, because I don't want to get striked.
Yeah.
This early.
Yeah, this early. But yeah, no, I really do love a lot of some of the music in the soundtrack. It's like, it just reminds me of like the old Irish folk tales and stuff like that. And the course of it was really good though. But.
Next on the list, The Dark Tower. Stephen King's Dark Tower fantasy series is one of the author's most beloved works. And with 8 novels, the scope for creating a cinematic universe is considerable. After years of development, the movie was finally announced for a 2017 release, with the intention that it would launch a franchise that wouldn't just take in multiple films but TV shows too. But it wasn't to be. This film was a commercial and critical bomb, with a truncated runtime, stories of behind-the-scenes conflicts, and a bungled, incomprehensible plot. A subsequent attempt to reboot the property as an Amazon series was also canceled after the pilot was rejected.
That's pretty bad. I mean, Stephen King I don't even need to go into Stephen King. So to have all that there, and all you have to do is pick out the parts that you need and make it into a movie, like, that's really...
But also with that, I think was the problem. They just picked the pieces out without telling the story right. And I think that was because Dark Tower, it just seemed like there was a bunch of different moments smashed together, and you couldn't, like, you get some story, but it wasn't like a fluid story.
It's like they didn't even talk to Stephen King and ask for his input, and they were like, hey, check out the movie we made. The what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that was kind of like the stuff with Game of Thrones, like the first 4 seasons, I want to say, 4 or 5, was, they were based off the books. So a lot of that stuff, they had, they did merge some of the characters, they did merge some of the scenes and stuff, because it's hard to, because of many characters that are actually in the Game of Thrones in the books, it's hard to do that. But I think they did it from, like, my friends who watch it, and who's read the books and everything. They said they did the characters pretty well. They loved it. And I actually watched the final season. That was probably the only season I've watched a little bit of. I think I've seen the last 2. That and the White Walker scene. The end of one of the season. Yeah, because just seeing legions of freaking White Walkers come in, that was the only scene that, like, my friend Brooks actually showed me, because it just came out, and he's like, dude, you got to watch this. So I was like, okay. So he rewinded it. I think we watched it twice, because it was just like...
It's a really good scene.
It's a really good scene. And then... But you can tell, like, towards the end of it, like, the last season was just so horrible, because they didn't have anybody to go off of, and you're just like, why didn't you just talk to George R.R. Martin? Like, he already told you pretty much everything that's going to happen in the next couple books. and you're still like you flopped on it. So
yeah. Danny kind of forgot that the Iron Legion was there. Forgot? What do you mean forgot? How do you forget an entire fleet of ships?
Yeah, it.
And finally on this list, the Dark Universe.
I'm just say before you continue, I'm upset with the top 3. Honestly, besides the Dark Tower, I was actually looking forward to the Stephen King universe, because then you're rolling in you're rolling in all, I can't remember the turtle's name, but you're just rolling in all his stories, and I was just like really looking forward to his universe.
There's no failed cinematic universe quite as notorious as the Dark Universe. While it's true many of the other movies on this list achieved just as many films, i.e. one, before they spluttered to a halt, they weren't launched in quite such a grand fashion. Universal's attempt to kickstart a new shared universe based on the classic monster properties had been in the works for some time, with writers, directors, and stars lined up for the series of interconnected films. A few days before the first movie, The Mummy hit theaters, Universal officially launched the Dark Universe with a moody photoshopped image of Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, Javier Bardem, Johnny Depp, and Sofia Boutella, who were all set to be a part of the magnificent new venture. And that was it. The Mummy tanked at the box office. The next movie, Bride of Frankenstein, was postponed, then canceled, and a whole sorry venture was dead within a few months. But while the Dark Universe website was eventually taken down 4 years later, the 2 tweets from the official Twitter account remain as a glorious monument to what could have been. Doc, this is your child. This is your baby. This is your...
Sorry, right now I'm having a coughing attack.
Oh. So, yeah, as far as the Dark Universe is concerned, I think they would have had better luck starting it with maybe the Brendan Fraser mummies, like The Mummy Returns.
Yeah.
Because, unfortunately, I think they, again, going for dark and gritty. Well, this would have been the time to introduce dark and gritty. But trying to introduce dark and gritty in an environment where I don't know if necessarily people would have ordinarily welcomed that, which, again, probably would have been the appropriate time to do so here. But I think it was already set up with like Van Helsing, the Mummy Returns and stuff like that. So I just kind of feel like, if anything, it missed its mark in this particular series.
Yeah, it's like, you know me. I've said this a lot. You alive over there? All right, we did not lose a member. This isn't going back to 3. But yeah, I'll always be on record as enjoying the dark and gritty anything, pretty much. But it hurts to see it fail. And I've just been keeping the mic warm for you. What do you think about Dark?
Oh man, this was like, if any universe I was looking forward to, this was the universe I was looking forward to.
Doesn't this include Godzilla? Or is this movie monsters?
No, so yeah, this is kind of movie monsters. So this would be Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, of course, The Mummy. I'm trying to remember their other franchise. Werewolf, those type of characters. All the old horror movie characters. Too much water. Yeah, so this one I was like... remember when we talked about Lead of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Yeah. It was on the worst of all those characters. So Invisible Man, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So this would all be those characters.
Right.
This one, like I said, was the one I was looking forward to. Like, Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I was waiting for his transformation. I was just like, come on, give it to me. And then, but it was still like the Mummy, we've always encountered like a male mummy, and seeing a female mummy, I was just like, and then like her especially, It's all right. I'm okay, babe. With with her, I actually thought she did pretty well. But I could see that what was the point between of Tom Cruise's character? Like, don't get me wrong, I really do like Tom Cruise, but it was just like, what's the point of his character?
Just
really?
To have Tom Cruise.
Yeah, just to have Tom Cruise. And I'm guessing it was the namesake for it, but yeah, I was really looking forward to this. Oh my gosh, you don't understand, because like everything that was going on, like I knew a lot of the stuff that was hinted in the background. I was just like, oh yeah, there's that. Okay, here's the vampire. Okay, here's the werewolf. Where's the creature? So there, if you look in the background, there's a lot of hints to a lot of the other creatures. So, like I said, this was really one movie I was looking forward to, or one universe I was looking forward to.
Yeah, so I just looked up the Dark Universe. They have The Mummy, Invisible Man, Bride of Frankenstein, which is pre-production, currently shelved, Dark Army, unreleased, pre-production, Renfield, unreleased, pre-production, Invisible Woman, Monster Mash, Frankenstein, Little Monsters, which is listed as, both of those are listed as in development. Creature of the Black Lagoon, Van Helsing, Wolfman, Dracula, Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Scorpion King.
Who was Johnny Depp's character?
Creature?
Yeah. I'm wondering what he was casted for. Because that's what I was like. I've seen this picture, and I was like, I've seen 3 of them. I was like, who are the other? Like, I know the 2 other actors, especially what's his name, because he played in was it Old Country, and then a Bond movie.
Javier Bardem.
Yeah, like his character, like he can. I really like him. So I gotta stop talking. See what happens when I talk about something I'm very passionate.
It's okay.
About.
It's okay. We're at the end of the episode
now.
The
loss of Dark is literally killing him.
Right.
It is. It is. It's hurting it's giving me light in my soul.
Don't worry, Shelby.
As it
we'll have to
says
stop talking
in
about
the
it soon.
trailer, in our trailer, World of all your soul.
Exactly.
And that's what happened.
My soul's being consumed by light.
So does anybody have anything else that they wanted to fill with this episode at all?
Well, let's go around with final thoughts. Zach?
Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, those were there were some pretty disappointing ones, but also there was Spider-Man. So
let me interrupt you.
Does anything, Zach? Let me interrupt you.
Let's talk about the first movies that David brought up that was trying to get at some of them.
Shyamalan. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't
Cancel culture is gonna hit us hard.
I mean, I enjoyed
any publicity is good publicity.
There we go. See, people are going to watch us to just put so much hate in that live chat. Bring it on. I cry easily.
It's opposite day every day.
As long as they subscribe.
Yeah. But yeah, M. Night Shyamalan is more of a what's the word for it? It's more of a novelty than it's like this is gonna be a good movie. No, it's I wonder how terrible this is gonna be. And there was like 1 or 2 exceptions to that, like The Sixth Sense. Old was interesting, but it was highly predictable, and the twist was like easily foreshadowed. Like it took me almost no effort to get to it. Yeah. But it was an interesting concept. If you've got a free movie ticket, I'd recommend going to go see it, or just wait till it comes out. I
swear my wife.
But yeah, so out of those 13 movies, because there's only 13, there definitely wasn't an Avatar movie.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of them were just terrible. Yeah. And then with these potential movie cinematic universes, I am very disappointed about the DC extended universe. I really had a lot of hope for that, and I really hope they find a way to revamp that while sticking true to the gritty DC original way. Don't disappoint your original fans. The rest will come to it eventually. fingers crossed. But yeah, then there's things like Spider-Man, where I did not like The Amazing Spider-Man. I tried. I watched it. I didn't just avoid it, but it was just, I don't know. I just could not enjoy it at all.
It is, like I said, I like these ones just because knowing the background, especially if you don't come from like knowing a little bit about Spider-Man, I can see it is a little bit harder to get into.
Yeah. But nonetheless, that is my reflection. I will pass it on to you.
All right. So, I forgot what with M. Night Shyamalan, if you watch any of his movies, you know there's going to be a twist. So it's like, okay, what is the twist of this movie?
What? He does twist?
You know what the biggest twist would be? No twist at all. It's just a regular movie. It's called Fred.
Hey, if you... There's actually a movie called Kill Fred. So...
This would be the sequel. He survives. Or prequel?
Prequel. Well, it depends on if he dies in the first one.
We'll just make the prequel and be safe with it, because I haven't seen that one.
Same.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I just saw your wife's last comment. Like, you know there's going to be a twist coming, so it's like you try to figure it out, and most of the time it's kind of obvious. And then as far as the failed cinematic universes, because I like King Arthur kind of stuff, like I'm not a buff on it or anything, I think that would have been a cool one to see. I'm not familiar with like the Dark Universe, but after reading through the list of what I just read off a little bit ago, I think that would have been a cool one to see. And yeah.
Go ahead,
David.
I have been blessed not to have seen any M. Night movies.
That's going to become a part of the punishment.
Oh yeah.
No.
I think we should do that.
No. You already established what the punishment is.
We haven't.
You don't get to go back.
We haven't told it online. So
yes, you have.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't recall this ever happening off the top of my head right now. So I'm gonna wing it. We're gonna play an M. Night Shyamalan.
You're gonna wing it, huh?
Look, haha, twist.
Yeah, we're gonna give you the M. Night Shyamalan twist, and it's gonna be watching an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
I'm gonna pour bleach in my eyes the day before. And as far as cinematic universes are concerned, honestly, as far as the Dark Universe is concerned, I thought they were trying to start that back with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, that was, you can kind of tell they were trying to do that, but I think that was also a thing in themselves. And then when this whole cinematic universe started to really kick off, because that one was still kind of like a little goofy-ish.
Yeah, but I don't want to give and the MCU... I don't want to give the MCU too much credit, because it's like, I'm sure they weren't the first establishment to think of, I want to put more, I don't think they were the first one to think of something like that.
No,
they were just the first one that had the money to execute it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, was it Toxic Avenger?
Right.
Mixing one of the other movies that, was it Kami, the police guy or something like that. I think he was a franchise in himself, and or he might have been part of that franchise. I can't remember. That's one of the comic books I don't read as much. So, but
no. Your thoughts?
So my final thoughts on these. M. Night, his movies are okay. Just as he gets older and stuff, and his stuff just starts getting a little bit more predictable. Even though, like, I kind of knew what was going to go on with Glass. I did guess a lot of the stuff with Glass, but it was still, to me, was still a very entertaining movie to watch. And I think I honestly have to still pick up Split and I think Glass, just so I could have the collection.
I keep forgetting those are M. Night Shyamalan movies, even though we just talked about it.
But besides that, like I own Signs.
Smooth.
I don't think I own Sixth Sense, but I think I know I own Signs because I thought it was a pretty good movie, pretty expensive. Avatar, that one doesn't really exist in a lot of people's minds.
I have no idea.
But it exists in a lot of people's hearts.
Yeah, shut up. The cinematic universe, as you tell, like I was really hoping to the DC. If they do reset it, I think they need to have one person spearheading it, and maybe two to three directors directing it that are all in leagues of this is what's going to happen. And this is my problem with Marvel's universe too. Everybody, you just get too many directors in it. They're trying to put their spin on it. They're trying to put this spin on it. And it just, then you have the production companies that are like, no, this is what works. This is what you're going to put into it, and that really sucks because then the story hurts for it.
Yeah.
And you can see that because it's like, oh, look, I know you love Black Panther, but it's pretty much Captain America. It's pretty much all the other stories that are out there. It's just different environment.
Granted, it has more flavor.
Yeah,
but
it
it's
does.
the same overall dish.
Yeah, it's really one of the better ones.
It's really Lion King.
True. But the Dark Universe, like I said before, this was one I was really hoping for. Besides Tom Cruise, even though I love the man, besides him, I was really hoping this was one of the ones that was going to take off because I was looking forward to a new Dracula. I don't know if you guys seen the story Dracula Untold.
Yes.
With it's the one with
a really beautiful man. It's bedtime.
It's with oh gosh, bring it up so we can see. I'm sorry, this man is beautiful.
Oh, I know. I have a crush on him.
Yeah, this was so I used to have a man crush on Johnny Depp, and then as soon as I saw this movie, I was like, and I started to see him a lot act more.
Luke Evans.
Luke Evans.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Dracula Untold. So this was another, you can tell that they were expecting another storyline, and I thought this was going to actually hint to the Dark Universe, like they were going to bring him into the Dark Universe. And because, like, if you see his movie as Dracula, oh, man, it is, like, phenomenal. Like, it still plays a little bit of the backstory of Dracula and takes a little twist to it. And it's showing kind of that introduction, kind of like what the Mummy did. And so that's the reason I was like, I was really hoping that this movie was going to take off and this universe was going to take off. Hopefully they eventually redo it. But like I said, it would be, like I need to stop saying like I said. They need to have one person spearheading it, only a couple directors directing it. They directed each movie, like one person's directing one, the other person's, so everybody's underneath the same flag and just moving forward. And even then, like if Disney, you heard it here first, for DC to continue their stuff, you have Zack Snyder freaking direct majority of them.
Yeah.
I mean, because he can do it to where he doesn't need a 4-length thing, but then you let him do a couple ones to where it's the way he needs to do it. And then you let him have reins over it. Don't let Michael Bay touch anything. Oh. He's ruined so much stuff.
Michael Bay is such an amazing actor and director.
I'm going to mute your mic. But yeah, that's really my one thing is that they need one person just, honestly micromanaging it, but they need a person that's good at it though too. Yeah. So that can see the future. So I will now keep quiet and give it back to David.
Biggie's playing you out.
I'm playing myself out.
That's one or the other because,
Yes.
Some of us have got to go to bed and upload this before we do and stuff like that. But hey, thank you everybody for joining us, not only on this stream, but on this episode. If you have been so lucky to catch us on YouTube to listen to this and watch us play, we appreciate you being here. So thank you everybody for hanging out. Please make sure you check out the Linktree descriptions and make sure you see where you can find all of us and everything like that, especially on Instagram. Please make sure you
Go, we're listening.
make sure you check out the link trees and find out where you can find us and everything like that. I swear to God, you guys can fucking take it away. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm so tired.
Check out the Linktree. And
anyway, I've been here with
Irishguy, aka Mike.
This is Doc.
and Zmainia.
Emma Gameboy. Thank you for everybody for hanging out. We'll go ahead and check you guys out next week.
Okay, all right. She was on the other foot. Okay. All right.